Hi, my name is Brian Hafferkamp, and I'm going to show you how to download and to create what's called a uBook or a universal book. Now, first, what is a uBook? A uBook is a digital book that can be read on any device that has a browser, including a desktop, computer, or a laptop, or even a cell phone. Um, these books are created as open books, so you can download the files for the ebooks or create them yourselves from scratch um, for free. These are open sourced and they're as universal as the web is, so that you can read these even on a Kindle reader with the experimental browser turned on. So in its essence, a uBook is just a website where you can self-publish your work, but it's more than that. It's a single page web application that uses basic HTML and CSS and JavaScript in order to create a good user experience for people reading your book. But I've created a template that makes it super easy for you to get started uh, and add your own content, chapters, and be able to create a book very easily that you can then deploy or put online in any web space that you want. So I will put a link to this page here. This is our official uBook project page, and you can read more about uBooks and why I turned to this, or why I had the idea and began to create this uBook template. All of the files that you'll need are included here, and it's at github.com/brianhafferkamp/ubook-project. Like I said, I'll put that link down in the description of the video, and whatever page you see this on, there will be a link also to this page. It's directly to this page. So what we need to do first is we need to download or clone. So if you're accustomed to using GitHub, you can just clone this. Or you can open it up in the desktop application for GitHub. We are going to take the manual route and just download the zip file. I'll download it to my desktop. And then now we have our project here. So what we need to do, it's a zip file, so we need to extract all the files in that zip file. And now we have an outer folder called uBook Project Master, and then inside that is also the uBook Project Master. So what we need to do is just copy this. You can copy it or you can cut it, and then actually let's not do that. Let's just go ahead and rename it before we do anything. We'll say I'm going to use the text from the book Moby Dick. So let's just go ahead and do that. And then you can take this and you can move that to the desktop. So now we have Moby Dick here, and this is going to be our book. You can throw away these two files. We don't need those files anymore because we have all of the files here and they're unpacked for us. So what we need to do is we need two different things. You're going to need a text editor of some sort. I prefer to use the free text editor from GitHub. It's called Atom, A-T-O-M. You can find it at atom.io. That's the URL for it. It's a free download. It works especially well on Windows. I'm not sure about Macintosh, but Mac has their own text editing software that works really well with them, things like Coda or Sublime Text or other different code editors. You can also just use plain old Notepad or Notepad++. Those would work equally well. What you really want is something a little more advanced so that you can deal more easily with the file structures and things. So I suggest a code editor like Atom. So what we have is our structure here, and we need, this is all a build system, so we need to go to the command line. If you're unfamiliar with the command line, in Windows you would click the start button and then just do a search for run, In older versions of Windows, run sometimes is at the bottom of the start menu. And then from the run menu, or from the run application, you just need to type CMD for command. And now you'll bring up the command line interface for Microsoft Windows. Now this interface gives you access to all of the files and folders. It's just not a graphic interface like you're accustomed to. And what we do is we have our folder here, and we need to get into this. We need to change the directory of the command line to reflect this folder. So the way that we do that is we say CD for change directory, add a space, and then the easiest way is to just move the folder straight over the top of this window, and then click enter. And now we've moved from this user directory into the Moby Dick directory here on the desktop. Now this inside of this folder is a full build system for us to use, so that means that when we write our code and we click save, it's not only going to refresh a web browser page that we're connected to, but it's also going to build the files for us from where they are into what's called HTML. So HTML is the language of the web. So it's going to take all of our files and it's going to kind of publish them internally to another folder, and I'll show you that in a moment. But we have to set up that whole system first, and the way that we do that is we need to do some installation things. So we type npm install space and then 2 ampersands space, and then we do something called bower, B-O-W-E-R, install, and click enter. Now I'm not going to make you run through this, so I have another folder set up already that's run through this process. This takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes depending on your computer, and it will run this package installation. So I'm just going to let that run for now, and I already have this set up here. So you can see that after you run the npm install and the bower install, it goes and it puts all of your dependencies and things in here. So if you have any questions about what's being used for this particular build process, you can look in there. So now let's just open our folder up. We're going to use this one, and we're going to open it up in app. I'm assuming here that you're a developer and you have some knowledge of what's going on. Well, the underlying technologies, or the underlying languages, I guess, that this build system is built on is Pug, which used to be called Jade, which is just an HTML preprocessor. And it's also built on Sass, so if you're familiar with Sass. I'm not using SCSS, I'm using the .sass style, but you can make changes as you see fit to make the changes. So you can convert those files to the .scss if you want to, if you're more comfortable with that. Got a duplicate here. Now the build system, since it's built on pre-processing, it's already installed the npm modules, and once you do the bower dependency installs, everything is fully set up, so the entire build system is set already. So all you have to do is open it in your text editor and then begin working on the files. It includes Pug, like I said, Sass, and it also has browser sync is enabled with it as well, and I believe there's some JS linting, JavaScript lint, and a few other things. So here is our file structure. So we have all of our package files here, so you can look through at the Gulp file and some other things. So you can check out the Gulp file. You can check out there are some configurations that are possible also in this particular build. um, so here's the configuration file, and there's some options. So you can set it to a development mode or production mode. Um, so with the development mode, the output is going to be verbose, and then in production mode, it's going to compress and minimize everything. Your source, the source directory here is where you have all of your, this is where you're going to do all of your work. Your build folder is the output, so it's going to output to index files. It's going to output CSS, images, that sort of thing in the assets. And then your node modules are here, so you can look inside there and see what's going on if there's any issues. So you can change the output directory for your images. You can change the output directory for the compiled code. So all of the compiled code is going to come in here. So if you want that to be something different, you can make that change. The views folder is where you're going to deal with the actual Pug files. Pug is, like I said, it's an HTML pre-processing JavaScript based language. And so what you're doing is you're using templates in order to create HTML files. It makes it easier to read, and it's easier to kind of see what's going on. You can also write things like includes and mix-ins like you would with Sass. So it's really, I encourage you to look into it. It's made my made my development, my coding go faster, and you can do some more powerful things like you can with Sass. Here is where your your main.sass is what's going to be processed. So I've set up several. I've set up the initial CSS into these particular partials here. So you can see each one is here. We have some variables that you can use if you want to, so all you have to do is use the variable names, and you can make those changes here, and then a lot of these are going to be based on on this one gray base color. There are some other ones. These variables are all based off of Bootstrap. So if you're familiar with some of the Bootstrap variables, these will be really familiar to you. But just some basic stuff like link colors and body background and typography. So I didn't put too much in there because I didn't want I wanted this to be kind of an open project for you to be able to make it as you want. So if you want to use variables, you can. If you don't, then just comment these out, or you can just delete them all and put your own variables in there if you want to. It's already connected to the main main.sass. Remember with the .sass, S-A-S-S, there's no there are no semicolons at the end, so it saves one keystroke. So we're importing our variables first. If you want to put any resets or dependencies here as far as CSS, you can put those in here and just import if you use normalize or if you use reset or whatever you want to use. And then these are the custom application specific files, so that's these files here that are being imported into the main. This main.sass is only for compiling. Okay, so this is not a place to put your CSS. If you want to add general or base, specific CSS, then you would add it to base, because base is the last thing that's being imported. So you would add it here at the bottom if you wanted to override anything or put your own CSS onto this. Feel free to also, utilize these partials, create new ones. Just make sure that you import them in this section here, and then I would suggest importing the base file last. In the views folder, that's where we have our Pug content. So this is what Pug looks like. It's essentially um, it's like Sass for your HTML. I don't know how better to explain it. Um, but you don't need to indentations. This is how you nest different items. So inside the body tag is you're including this partial header.pug, and then you're including this partial about nav.pug. So inside of partials we have these little partial files, and then inside the body we have a container called main, and this is the main content, and then we're including this splash cover partial, and then after that you can add your chapters below, but just make sure that they keep the indentation. They need to be indented for main. And the way that you can include the chapters is, well, this is wrong. Let's fix that. So the structure is include and then a space, and then you would put your file structure. So we have chapters, and then inside the chapters we should create things called chapter1.pug, chapter2.pug, and then it's going to import those chapters one after another. We're loading jQuery from the CDN. You can delete this if you want to use vanilla JavaScript, and then after that we load our specific JavaScript file. I don't have a title in here, but if you were doing like Moby Dick, you would just put the title in. We are importing our main.css style sheet here. I'm using Material Design Icon font. You can use a different one if you want. That's being loaded here, and you can look that up online and find the icons. You could load a Google font here if you want. I've done that before and it works great. Icons. So here are some icons for using on different devices, and then here is a favicon image if you want to use that as well. So that's your index file. So basically this is just it's importing a bunch of stuff from your partials and your chapters, and then it outputs it as an index file. So you can see that everything's being output into this index file. Feel free to delete as many of these comments as you want to. I was just trying to show you what's possible and where to make changes to different parts of the file, and hopefully you can see that easily. So creating a new chapter, well, let's start at the header. Let's start at the top of the page. So this is the header section, or the masthead. The masthead is going to include the book name and the author name. So if you were doing Moby Dick, you would just say Moby Dick, and then Herman Melville. We have a toggle, an open and close toggle. This is for large screens. This is not going to show up for the mobile navigation, but you would just save that. And now you can see that in our index I've forgotten to show you an important part. Once you've installed it, you have to run Gulp. Sorry about that. So you would say Gulp start. Actually, I'll show you help first. If you run Gulp help, it'll actually give you a list of available help commands. Okay, so there's a few Gulp commands that you can use, and you would say Gulp and then this word. Gulp clean removes all of the files from the build folder. Gulp.js compiles the JavaScript. Gulp pug compiles the pug templates into HTML. Gulp Sass, just the Sass. You can run the images where you copy newer images into the build folder or the favicon. Or if you had any vendors, you could write Gulp vendors, and it would copy them into the build folder as well. If you do Gulp build, it will just rebuild the project. If you write Gulp watch, then it'll watch for any changes. This is it's running browser sync, so that would set up browser sync. If you want to compile and watch for changes, then you would say Gulp start, and then in order to print this message, you would run Gulp help. And if you just want to restart the browser sync server, then you would just write Gulp browser sync. So we're going to do Gulp start, and this essentially does everything. It builds and compiles everything, and begins the browser sync server. And you find browser sync, you'll find your website at localhost 3000. So we've made some changes here, so you can already see that the changes are taking place. Okay, and it's going to tell you here what else happened, and it's also going to tell you where the local host is located, and also if you want to connect to this via some external source, you can actually input this external URL, and that will that'll give someone access to your files, like to your local build here, your local server, which is pretty cool. So you can use this to connect if you want to connect mobile devices or another computer to see how it works in real time. It'll all update across those devices in real time. So it's a nice feature to have. So you can see that we don't have anything here yet. Let's go ahead and, I think that's because we haven't built our files out, so let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to close this over here. Let's just do Control C, we'll stop it, and do yes, and then you say Gulp clean, and you can watch up here and it'll clean the files. Okay, so there's nothing in the build folder anymore. And then when you do Gulp, let's just do Gulp start and just restart everything so that we can get our server, our browser sync going. Okay, so it's rebuilt the files here, started browser sync, and let's see what happened if we get anything here. Okay, so here's our basic page. It comes with a splash page here, and then you can put the book title and you can put the author name. If you look at it in a mobile view, you can see that there's also, oh, we're getting a little something down there. I have to change that. You'll get your splash image here, and then there'll also be a menu here with the chapter list where you can change those. You can add your chapters, and then it will actually do that. So let's see, why are we getting some funkiness? Okay. These don't need to be at the end, they need to be on the top. They're just comments. You could take those off as well if you didn't want to deal with them. It's just to remind you of what everything is. So when we save that, you can see that it's connected to browser sync. It does it automatically, and you have a nice navigation here. I'm on a bit of a slow connection here at home. Okay. Anyway, so let's just dig into a little bit more of what's going on here. So that's the header section. This is the branding, so that's going to be, and I'll show you where this shows up. It shows up when you scroll down the page. In the navigation file, so this navigation in the menu, they're meant to be used on all devices, so mobile and desktop or super large devices. So we have one navigation trigger, and we have one main menu. Now when you make changes to this, it's going to make it across mobile and desktop, and everything is using the same unordered list in order to serve up the menu. So that makes it super easy. If you wanted to create multiple menus, you could do that. But basically we have, this is um, our mobile trigger, and that's what you see down at the bottom here. That's this mobile trigger. Sorry. And then if you wanted to create a back to top link, you could just uncomment this out and it would show up as a back to the top link. I've actually put that functionality into the masthead, so when you scroll down the page and you see the author title and name, they can click on that and it will take them back to the top. So you can decide if you want to do that or not. In our main menu, we need to create our file structure like this. So it's just a list item with an anchor link inside of it. Again, when you indent, this means that it's an LI, and then this LI is wrapping around this anchor link. So you'll be able to see it here. There's a list item, and then it's wrapped around this anchor link here. If you want to add more chapters than 10, you would just copy and paste. So let's say add another chapter. Indentation is super important with Pug, so you just want to make sure that everything is lined up well. And then you want to make sure that all of the links match the chapters. So you want this anchor link to match the chapter. If you wanted to do, this is for a single page application. If you wanted to do a multi-page application, you would just make these not anchor links but relative links to whatever's inside, whatever build structure you want to do with your chapters inside of this. So if you wanted to build out actual chapters, then you would do that in a chapters folder maybe, and then you would link to those chapters as you build that chapters folder out up here. So you can structure it however you want to, but the links to the chapters are anchor links, and then these are set up for a one-page configuration. So just a reminder here about what you can do and what for a multi-page application. Okay, that's the navigation, and then the next one is the splash cover. So the splash cover is it's this larger image here. Now I don't have an image there. You can see how the navigation works, by the way. I don't have an image there at the moment, but it's inside this. The section that has a class of intro, that's where the background image is, and you would find that in splashcover.sass. So if you wanted, right now I just have a placeholder in there, but if you wanted to add some sort of image, you can bring it from your image file. So inside your assets, create an image file and you can put that in there, or you can put a web link in there if you have an image that's being served online. So that's pretty cool, and it's all set up. You can change the position here to fit your image. One image I was using before, it had to kind of be repositioned at different sizes in order to get exactly what I wanted in the viewing area. So you may or may not need to do that. It's 100% of the viewport height, so it's a full bleed splash image. You can see that it takes up the entire amount of the screen, regardless what size we're on. Okay, and I'm using a little bit of Flexbox to keep it centered on mobile. So that's the centering here. That's not done with anything fancy, just Flexbox. And then this title, that is the H1, H2. So that's this H1 and H2, and then the title is the whole block. So you can move that around as you see fit and as it matches what you want to do with your book. You could remove it all together just by going to the splash cover, and then you could just remove that section altogether, like if you didn't want that. But this is where you would type the book title, and then Herman Melville's name, and then now after it rebuilds this page, you'll be able to see it here. Extremely slow connection this morning, maybe a little wind outside. Alright, so that's our SAS files. You can dig through each of these and you can see just kind of what's going on. So just matching up what's here in the SAS file with what is in each of the different Pug files. So let me show you how to do chapters. So this is important. We're going to include chapters here. They're inside of the chapters folder, and then they have this structure here, so chapter-1.pug. And when we look in our chapters folder, there's a chapter template. This is the template part starting at chapter. This is just some instructions, so you would duplicate this template for multiple chapters, and then you can save the files in the /chapters folder, right? So you save them here. So what we can do is just say duplicate. So it's in the chapters folder, and we just want to say chapter-1.pug. Now you don't need any of that. You may not necessarily need this, but it's just a reminder that this ID needs to match up with here, with this link here. Okay, so we're creating an anchor link here that's going to go to the ID of chapter-1. So whatever this is, that's what it's going to be looking for. So you need to match those two things up between your navigation and your chapters. You can uncomment this if you want to use some sort of a subheading. It's already set up to use a subheading, so we can do that like this. And then the chapter begins here. I've just set it up as an article, and then inside of that you just start inputting your document information. So I'm just going to go and add that first chapter of Moby Dick, show you how easy it is. So we just copy, we go back, we paste. You can see that it's all just coming in as plain text, right? And the way that that Pug works, again, this is being nested. So you have a paragraph inside of this article tag, and so all you have to do is go through and create the spacing and just put a P in front, and then that's going to create a paragraph for you. So let's go through, and one of the things I love about text editors is if you use the control, or maybe command on Mac, I don't know, but you can choose multiple elements at the same time. This one. So I'm just trying to get to the end of the end of each paragraph. So then all of these can be done at the same time. We go down one, we do that, and then voila. All of our spaces, all of our paragraphs have space in between so that we can see them. Oh, this one got messed up. And it looks like these all got messed up too. So again, spacing is very important, and if these things are not all lined up, then it's not going to render well. These are going to be on the same level as the article if we don't create more space. Okay. So let's do that. We missed one here. It is possible to make this into a CMS theme for WordPress or Drupal or something, so that you can take out all of this manual labor, but I like the manual labor of it because it keeps the file size down, and not having to use a CMS is good. For me as a developer, I know what I'm doing, and so it's not such a big deal to me. And then we've added, you can see here that we've added in our text, but it's not allowing, we're not getting anything. It should be scrolling, but the reason is that we haven't uncommented on the index page, so we got to include the chapter. So we built the chapter here, but we have to include it into the index page, and the way we do that is you can just copy and paste this and make sure it's on the same level as this include with the splash cover page, because we're just creating a relative section going down. And then you could probably take that away because it's going to follow. I was just showing you an example. And so when we save, then it's going to rebuild our page for us. Seems like quite slowly. But you can see here that we're already getting this. Now it's got a nice little motion here where you move from the splash page to, this is what we call the masthead. If you click on the masthead, it takes you back to the top. As you come down, you can see that there's the chapter heading, the subheading, and then all of your text is in here. It's got a nice little padding on it already. You don't have to do a lot. So as you're moving through, that's chapter 1, and it's very basic. If you click on the link here, then it's going to bring you straight to the top of that section where that ID is. Again, if you click on Moby Dick, it'll take you to the top of the page, right? So you see how that action works. And then from there, all you would do is you would create more chapters, and then you would add those chapters in. So chapter -2, chapter -3, you would just include those one after another all the way down, and then you have your book. At the end, it's building out. Like I said, this is for a one-page situation. So you would have your chapter text beginning here. This is chapter 1, and then all it's doing is adding in all of your text into this article, and those are all going to be inside the main the main tag. And then you would build out all the way down, and then you would have essentially only your index page to be able to serve up. So you're going to serve your index page, and you're going to serve your CSS file, and you're going to serve your JavaScript file as well. Inside the JavaScript file, I'm just using jQuery. Here are variables, and then we're just hiding some elements on page load. These elements are also hidden in the CSS in order to avoid a flash where they show up before the JavaScript hides them. So they're hidden in CSS if you look at them. This is for opening the menu on the menu click, and this is for closing it. And feel free to make this better, or to rewrite some of this JavaScript to be a little bit more succinct. I'm not a pro at JavaScript. I'm more on the traditional front end. So I've written this to the best of my ability, and feel free to make it better. If you make it better and it's noticeably better, I encourage you to get onto the GitHub repo and submit a pull request. I'm looking for some people with high skill to be able to make this a little bit better, or to be able to use vanilla JavaScript instead of using a jQuery library. I think that would cut down a little bit. It's about $35K to download jQuery. So it's just a little bit of a hit that we could probably get rid of by using vanilla JavaScript. So you can close menu. You close the menu on the menu close, or on the link click. And then these are the toggles for the large screen menu, which I didn't show you. So if you open this up on a larger screen, you get the same motion where the masthead comes up. And you can see that I've made it a column, so this is just a max width of maybe 700 or 800, and then it's just margin auto. We get our link up here, and then it opens our chapter list over here. And so when you click on a link, it closes this and then takes you to the appropriate place. We don't have a chapter 2, so we don't know. And you can also close it just by up here. Feel free to improve upon this. I just wanted kind of a basic reading experience for people who, if they wanted to continue reading on a desktop screen, then they could do so. And then this moves over, to the left to kind of get out of the way. You could keep that centered if you wanted to. There's a lot of different options that you could do. And you can see as we move, for a tablet, it's the same thing, just a little bit larger. The tablet comes all the way across the screen, but you have essentially the same actions taking place across multiple devices. So this triggers the large, when you're on a large screen, it triggers this action over here. CSS is taking the navigation from the bottom and putting it to the right part of the screen. So that's all done through CSS. This is the scrolling effect. When it reaches here, then it makes a change and it brings in the masthead, closes or fades out this title text. Okay, so that's all happening here. So if you wanted to change how far down, then you would just change this number here. So if you wanted to wait until it got farther down the page, you would just make that a greater number. If you want to do it right when the user starts scrolling, then you would just make this 1 or 10 or something like that. And then all I'm doing is putting, instead of display none, I'm putting display flex onto the masthead so that it shows up. And then if you're not scrolling, then it fades up. So that means that when it's coming down, it fades in, and when you go back up, it's going to fade out. So without that else statement, it would just fade in and stay. So maybe that's what you want. Okay, so that is all in the app.js. That's being fed by this assets and functions.js. So this is where you would actually write your code, and then it gets output to this JS folder whenever you're ready to deploy it. Again, the build folder is for what you're going to, these are the files that you're going to deploy onto your server, and that's all you need. So we only have a handful of files that it requires in order to recreate Moby Dick. And by putting our chapters and our partials like this, instead of keeping them all in the root folder, if you keep them in the root folder and you recreate them all in the same folder with the index, it's I believe it's going to try to create all HTML files in here. So if you build a little bit of a subfolder structure, then you can keep it where there's one index file and everything is being pre-processed and output into this index file. So that'll keep your code a little bit cleaner on the deployment end. Alright, and I've gone through some of the configurations. You can make changes to the Bower file. You can add other dependencies if you wanted to. And you can also make some changes to the Gulp process as well, and how it processes different tasks. So, alright, well that is taking you through, and you're now prepared. So once you've created the folder structure, then you can deploy it to the web, and then this is what you're going to wind up with. Is really nice. So I have an example of it here. I've actually created Moby Dick for the web, and you can see how everything works in real time. So we have our splash page with, this is using Google font, so it's a little bit different, but you can see here that that action happens, and you can take this, there's an opportunity inside the Sass to be able to brand all of your elements, so you can use specific colors. I'm using red because it just seems nice, but it's easy to move and to navigate all throughout the website. There are 100 and some odd chapters in Moby Dick, so you can easily get all the way down to the epilogue. But you can see here. everything is on one page, right? You can see the scroll bar. So this is the entire book of Moby Dick, all on the same page. And then when we look at it in a mobile view, you can see how it responds in the mobile. So I get a little bit more of the picture here in mobile. But it's a very nice reading experience if you want to open this link up on your mobile device. You can see that I built it mobile first, so it's been the point is that you can open your mobile device and read it. I don't anticipate too many people reading the book on a desktop, but maybe they will. But this is a branding opportunity here if you want it. So when someone's looking, they can see, bam, that's your color, and hey, that belongs to this publishing house, or that belongs to this person, that's their books. Or if you wanted to brand it per book, where maybe there's a dominant color for each book. So that's an opportunity there. You could add images inside of your chapters. You're not limited. This is just essentially a web page, so you could put video or image. But just know that everything you put in there is going to bog down the download of the book a little bit. But just know if there's a lot of pictures here, that's going to mean a very heavy page to download. So just be cognizant that you're not downloading individual pages. You're downloading a one-page application. So everything that has to be downloaded is going to get downloaded all on this one page. So if you have 10 megabytes worth of pictures, all of those pictures have to be downloaded on page load. So just kind of be cognizant of that and aware of that. Alright, well, if you have any questions or if you have any issues, please submit an issue here on the repo. Also, in the comment section of this video, feel free to leave comments. I'm here to help. If you want to participate, please get in here, create a merge request, a pull request, and then we'll see how it fits into the greater scheme of things. I want people to be able to make this better. Some of the things that I'm concerned about and the challenges are just we need a lot of uBooks in order to be able to change the market. So that's the main thing, is creating a marketplace and then creating uBook. But on the technical side, I'd like to change over the vanilla to vanilla JavaScript for the UI interactions as opposed to just using jQuery. And then I'd like to also be able to think about creating a more optimized user experience on large screens. Maybe you think that that's fine. I think it's okay for now, and I'm happy generally with the way that things have been. But if there's a way to make that better, then I would like to, I'd like to make it better if I could. And then we just need more finished uBooks. Right now I'm going through the classics, so the next one that I have on the list is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. But there are so many books out there. I would like to have a marketplace of 100 or more to be able to show a proof of concept and to give people a really great reading experience for these different books. So thank you for watching. This is a long video, but I hope that it gives you a head start on being able to create uBooks. And as we create more uBooks, momentum will build for that. I hope that you begin to see also the ease of use, the ease of maintenance, the ease of creation, and also just the fact that these can be shown anywhere on any device that has a web browser. And once you download the page, once you download the book, as long as you don't close the tab, you can have offline reading as well. So it's really I think it's going to be a great idea. I need some help. I need some people to take the idea and run with it and just create what you're going to create, and let's see if we can change the publishing world. If you have any questions, please find me on Twitter. You can my handle is @Brian, B-R-I-A-N, and then my last name, Haferkamp, Haferkamp. You can find that also at the bottom of this document here. So just click here and you can connect with me on Twitter. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it, or maybe we can talk on the phone or through email. I'd be happy to give you my email address if you send me a direct message on Twitter. Alright, thanks and good luck with your uBooks.